Hello again. This is Chad Everett Broshears, the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. And today's episode is called Stuck on Happy. Whenever I think of this, I also think of that scene in Zoolander where Will Ferrell's like, Happy. Ah. All right. So, as always, if you enjoy these episodes or have any comments or feedback or anything, please, by all means, put it in the comments section and I'll address it as soon as I can. I'm always open to your viewpoints and suggestions, whether that be on future videos or persons that may want to join the videos as a interviewee. Always open to it. So, today, by the way, share on social media as much as you like if you appreciate this video. So today I'm going to talk about people that have, or you may be even part of this in yourself regardless. So here's a few things about being stuck on happy. I have 4 Ds on I have 4 Ds on my board to talk about. I have a very few minutes to talk about this because I have to run. So the first one is that devalue. So the event occurs and you have in your mind, or they have in their mind, that the only thing that's going to be beneficial is if the outcome is what they want, pleasing, happy. I know plenty of people that are optimistically bound that think that the only way to be to have a qualified, fulfilled life is to be happy in life. And that's simply not true. Happy is one experience and it's one concept that we have. We have sad, we have fear, we have so many that are devalued whenever you're stuck on one. It's kind of like being stuck in first gear and the interstate's asking you to be in fifth. I'm not saying that being happy is not a value system, but you must understand how you acquire the idea or the feeling of happy. Is you have to understand it by contrast value, which is what are your negative ideas? What are the negative experiences, the sad, the upsets, those kind of things. I like to teach my students to fill it out. Like, okay, if you're mad, understand the parameters of the consequences whenever you express yourself, and then express yourself. Now, if you understand you're going to harm a relationship, you go into that with a full understanding that you're going to harm a relationship. But I never excite physical violence. But if you need to vent yourself or you need to express yourself, aside from physically harming another person, I suggest that they do it. Don't harm another creature either. I'm not advocating any of that, or even property damage. Unless it's your own property and you want to do something to your own property, then it's yours, so long as it's not a living thing, nor affecting a living thing. Of course, I have to paint some degree of parameters around this, so it's not irresponsible. I was speaking with a good friend of mine yesterday, and this is also something that he practices, which is great. And it's fun. It's wonderful to know that other people are practicing this type of method. So when you're upset, like be upset, like understand the upset, get the full the costs, the consequences, because we actually get to use that as an account to really invest into getting to why you were upset. But if you deny yourself upset, you do not get that access as easily or even at all. If you deny that you're upset, if you suppress it or you happy it away, these problems that we experience don't go away after the first occurrence. They come back around. Now, they come back around in different variables, but they come back around in the same formula, meaning that, it may not be the same person that comes back around that's a jerk, right? It's the pattern in which you do things that occur to other people to behave in a certain way, and they behave back towards you as the way you behave towards other people. Now, that's the simplicity of karma. I don't believe in the spiritual context of karma. I think it's a cop-out for lazy thinking. If you want karma as a functional psychological factor, the simplicity of it is if you're an asshole, karma's not a bitch, you are. All right. And that's on both sides. If you sit there, all right, so the first part of this, if you sit there with if you're an asshole, right, and you behave like an asshole, you will be respectfully treated as an asshole. Whether the person has met you or not, your behavioral patterns occur to other people that align with them, whether they mess with you or not. Karma does not have a store bank. It doesn't have good points that come back around to reward you. I'm a good boy or girl, and I think I'm going to make all kinds of money and have a happy life if I do these good deeds, right? Because we have to understand good and bad are relative. So if you're judging your actions off of something you consider good in any context, what if the other persons that are involved in the world don't find the context as good? They could be benign or bad. So you see, this whole concept of karma is just wishful bullshit. Now, if I want to be an asshole to you, I would expect to be treated back like an asshole. But if I feel this delusional idea that I've been dealing with a lot of people stuck on happy, they're going to be, oh, okay, this isn't good for me, but it's good for you. So what does that do to the person that's being a jerk? Right? It basically encourages them to continue to be a jerk because they didn't get any fallout reaction to the equivalent of their behavior. They got a removed, almost like wishfully sterile experience. And then whenever finally they continue to asshole their way up to the maturity ladder of being the mega asshole, they meet somebody else who is also a mega asshole that has the quantitative values of considering hurting another person to a significant degree or possibly even killing them. And then these two assholes meet each other and they're mega asshole proliferates, and they find the news. And when they find the news, you hear another person shot. It must have been the gun that did it, because those guns, they've got minds of their own. Rather than assholes behind guns do bad things that assholes do with guns, right? Or if they have a gun, they do it with a knife or something else. They're still plain and simple assholes that are doing these acts. So we're dealing with the psychology of individuals. We're not dealing with inanimate objects, okay? So knives aren't cutting throats nor stabbing people. It's the idiot with the knife or the persons involved. Now, the shooting, I happen to live in Florida, very near Pasco County, and the shooting that took place in the movie theater, by the way, was two assholes. Very plain and simple. If you actually read the full articles, or if you actually knew the situation, you'd find out both of them were assholes. One was a retired chief of police in his latter years, and the other one was a gentleman texting in the theater. And he said, the chief said something, or the police officer, retired police officer, said something to the gentleman who was texting in the theater. He had no idea if it was a family emergency, if his daughter was in the hospital. He had no idea of anything other than this man was on his phone texting, and he said something rude to the individual, and the individual said something rude back, because we have a very high population with low egos. Now, you'll find out more about the ego later. So the altercation occurred where it just continued to escalate. The older man, obviously frailer in his experience or in his physical body, but very high on the end of hostility in his mind, was carrying a gun. And the other man, unarmed, was getting upset and hostile when the man furnished the gun. It wasn't very long after that he shot the man. Two assholes meeting, right? Now, I say they're both assholes because one of them didn't know how to dissipate. So neither one of them knew how to actually do any conflict resolution other than the hostility version. But no one knows the actual reason why the man was texting, but the argument did not have to ensue the way it did. But again, I mean, who wouldn't get upset if they were told not to be on their phone, especially if it was an emergency? But it may not have been. We don't know. So with that, you see, these things happen all over the place. But we have this experience where we don't give the appropriate response to someone else's position because we have this idea that we can go sterile on them. Sterile, like they put on these latex gloves or these white cloth gloves that just say, I'm not making any prints in your life. I'm optimistically bound. Everything will get better. I don't have to put any effort into making it better. I just have to wish it into place. I don't know if you're picking up on my tune here, but yeah, I've written and spoken and lectured on how I do not care much for the optimistic movement or even the pessimistic movement. I think they're both bullshit, and it's just wishful thinking on both sides based off of historical values or delusion. But I like to get to work on the situation. So if I find out I'm upset, I live into being upset. By the way, few people in my life have ever seen me go to yelling or to go to any degree of what people would consider violence. Most people see me deal with things in a very mature manner, and I approach things with a desire to actually create solutions. I don't wish that it get better. I make it better. I also know when there's an emotional fallout, that the emotional fallout is there for a reason. Either it's that person's fault or if it's suppressed nonsense that I wished out of existence in an earlier stage of my life, optimistically. I used to be an optimist, and I used to be a pessimist, and I used to be all these things, and now I'm just me. I'm not delusional by any sense, and I also have my goals and I have my solutions, and every time something shows up that would be categorized as good or bad, I usually look at it as if it's effective. Is it getting in the way of me achieving my goals, or is it supporting me getting to my goals, success? And if it's helping me, I'll qualify that as ideal. If it's not, I consider it less than ideal and I get to work. That's it. I don't have to go and try to hum it away or flower my mind with things that aren't going to benefit me and makes me go into denial because I don't seek out problem or solutions to these challenges inside of the patterns of my behavior and the behavior of others interacting with me. This is a developmental conversation to get you the hell out of this nonsensical position of I am an optimist or I am a pessimist. You don't have to be stuck on happy, because if you're constantly, consistently, to get back on track with the stuck on happy, or to really get back into that, because I have 3 more D's to cover up or to uncover and then end this particular video. So if I'm stuck on happy, I'm not giving the feedback the other person needs. If it's the person that I need to involve myself with, make it as complex as you want. I don't care. Put it in the comment section. If you need, I'll even, if the comment is worthy enough, I'll bring it on to the video and actually we'll discuss it. You know, I don't care if it's whatever. If it's someone sick and dying, I don't care. You know, I don't care what it is. If you think optimism is the way you get through it, then we'll talk about it. Now, I'm not saying don't think for the nicer or the more desirable outcome. I have that built into my concepts of success, but I denied nothing in the outline of my desires for success, meaning I did not write my plan for success, eliminating any other element of experience or emotion based off of the desire to be stuck on happy, the heroine of emotions. I haven't been stuck on that. I wrote it all in. Allow for all experiences. All experiences have value. If I'm upset, be upset. If I'm happy, be happy. If I'm horny, be horny, right? If I'm any of these expressions of self, be expressions of self, honoring the agreements that I've created. When I create agreements, these variables are weighed prior to the agreement. And it is very quick and simple. That's going to be part of the course coming very soon, which is mastering you in relationships. All right, so the next D is distract, right? Something happens and you say, that wasn't a happy outcome. Ooh, something's wrong. You're distracting your thoughts. You're saying, this can't be good. I'm not happy. Something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. I need to be happy. Got to get happy again. How am I going to get happy? The heroine of emotions. How am I going to get happy? Oh. Okay, we're going to work on this. I know what's happening. And my house is in foreclosure. My bank account is empty. My wife is threatening to leave me. Oh. Rather than look at, because this is distracting, right? You're trying to figure out, or that person in this scenario is trying to figure out how to get happy again. Rather than looking back. Now, they're not trying to find the solutions to it necessarily. The words say yes, that the actions are actually going towards no. The words, the actions would be like what's really beneficial to avoid the distraction techniques is to actually look at what led up to that point and how often they defaulted the emotion they desired over the other emotions in order to achieve that result. Now, when you go back into memories, usually like you go back into happy memories, you file them away with emotions, and then there'll be the categories for that particular memory. So when we reach back into our mind for a memory and say, you know what, I went to Italy. Great. So somebody brought up Italy. It's a keyword. Your brain's working on a keyword search, right? Like a search engine optimization context, right? Or a scenario. Well, it pulls up to Italy. Now, if you went to Italy and you were told you're supposed to have a specific time that somebody else enrolled you in, when they told you about how it goes, or the advertisers or whatever, they told you were supposed to experience Italy in a certain way, and you got there and it was really hot and you lost your luggage, and then you couldn't get a vehicle, and you realized that there wasn't as many people at that time speaking English. There's so many different variables that play into ruining the experience because you're supposed to be happy. You bought the idea of happy. I hope you get every time I do that. That's just the pop-up of Will Ferrell doing that with that spinning thing behind him. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So you've got all of this going on, and then you say that trip to Italy was absolute shit. I was supposed to be happy, and then I felt challenged. And when I feel challenged, usually I don't feel happy unless the challenge is fairly simple, and then I get to relish in the idea that I overcame it because I tied my shoes differently, and yay, right? So there's a lot of developmental precursors that are missing for people. That, you know, like understanding and deciphering emotions. By the way, I do cover emotional maturity in my series, The Human Manual, to a great depth like this. It's taking it down into parts, right? So as you go to memory recall, so I can just kind of complete that thought, is when you go into memory recall, you'll go by also, you'll have categories that come up as far as the keyword searches, if you will. And if it's not a titled thing like trip to Italy, it could be the desire to go to Italy, which you've never been, therefore it's dominant emotion over experience. And you say, ooh, I wanted to go to Italy for so long. How was it? How was your trip? Tell me about it. And then you listen to the other person as they tell you about their trip. And it goes into the desire platform or the desire piggy bank with Italy attached to it. And there's one more time you get to talk to somebody else until you finally go. But you see, these are building up to whether you're going to experience Italy the way that they tell you, or you're going to experience it the way you do. Sometimes it is the same way. That's why some people created resorts that you go to and you have little experience with the actual real place, like going to a sandals resort. Sandals is pretty much the same wherever you go, regardless of what country it's in. It's still pretty much the same because they want to create that experience that's recreatable so you never have a bad time, right? Because it's something you can expect. But if you go to Jamaica to sandals and you step out of the resort and you go into Jamaica for itself, you find out Jamaica is not sandals and sandals is not Jamaica. It just happens to be in Jamaica, right? Because Jamaica is very impoverished and there's a lot of hardships that the people of Jamaica face. And the people you interact with at the resorts are not the way that they are in Jamaica. But if you step out of there, you're like, oh man, Jamaica is horrible. Or I didn't have that experience or whatever. You see, like, so there's so many distraction techniques that we utilize that we get stuck on certain things and we deny ourselves the what's so. And when you deny yourself the what's so of an experience, you lose the ability to learn how to create what you want, because there's a lot of variables between I think I want to go to Jamaica and getting your happy ass to Jamaica, right? Or any other country, doesn't matter. I'm just using that as an example right now. There's a lot of factors. Did you actually, how many times have you flown? How many experiences have you had with challenges at the airport? I'll tell you from my most recent experience, if you've always had your flights on time and you've never had issues with your luggage and you never had them separate you and your partner from sitting together whenever you made every effort to make sure that you sit together on your way there, you haven't experienced all of flying yet. Right? Like what if you're getting engaged or you just got engaged and you don't want to be separated from your partner and they tell you that there's been a change of seating because of a plane change and now you can't sit with your partner. right? Everybody else gets to, and you may have even booked your tickets early, as the situation with my girlfriend and I, although we weren't engaged. So you see there's so many variables. Now, if you don't know these things ahead of time, you don't know how to ask in order to make sure, you have no concept of any of this, right? You just think, okay, I buy my ticket and it all works out. You see, you keep getting stuck on this idea everything's going to be wonderful and all that, right? There's not really much of a problem with you wanting things to be wonderful, other than you've got to do the damn work to make sure it happens. Otherwise, you leave it to chance and you ruin the real experience of it because you're stuck on happy like an asshole. Yeah. Anyway, you can see I've got a little bit of a conversation involving optimists, and I'm just direct towards pessimists as well. But optimist seems to be the way society has shifted itself, the only way you should be. And if you're not, you're ostracized because you're not an optimist, and you can't bring your negativity around me. I can't have it. My psyche might adopt some of your negativity. Yeah, you're not very optimistic whenever you're behaving like that. All right, so then there's the dismissal concept. Now, this is the third D. There's devalue, distract. Now this is dismiss. And the dismissal, when you're stuck on happy, is you dismiss whatever evidence or information comes your way that does not line up with your desired outcome. So you dismiss it. You don't even want to put the thought into it because you feel like it would rob you of your happiness. I am dismissing this. I can't. You don't consciously normally say these words, but your behaviors fall into this category very easily. I dismiss this. I'm not doing that. No, dismiss it. In conversations, when somebody's having a bad day and you're stuck on happy all the time, and you should be happy, take a happy pill. Do it. You get people that say all kinds of crazy shit, right? If they're bringing their concerns to you and you don't have the skill set to help them overcome it, which a lot of times people don't know how to overcome their situation and they desperately seek solution. They don't know how to ask for it, and they try to bring it to you in hopes that you can solution their life or their experience, and you give them the happy pill, or you try force feeding them this happy pill. You should be happy. You try talking them into it. Be happy. All right, well, you just abandoned that person to their sorrows, their upsets, because you didn't even worry about trying to help them solution their way out if you fall into this category. If someone comes to me with that scenario, I hear them out. I have them be heard. I let them express themselves. And then I ask them what they know about the situation. Do they know how they got into it? Do they know a viable solution out of it? Have they read anything in order to overcome this challenge? Or are they trying to numb their way through it? I am not that guy. I am that guy right there that I described. I am going to find them. I'm going to help them solution their way through it. Create solutions, not more challenges. Now, if I create more challenges, it's with the intention of creating more solutions, because I like to teach people to think for themselves. So the dismiss, again, is a very large conversation piece, but yet I hope that I've delivered that well enough to give you workability and the understanding of dismiss. I don't want to hear it. I don't know how to hear it. So dismissed. I can't have this come on to my psyche. And then delude. You delude it. Like, no, this didn't happen. You dilute it down. You're like, no, man, it just wasn't my day. I'm delusional at this point. No, it is what it is. Right? That is what it is. Well, if you don't have workability with it is what it is, you just made the same statement to, well, it'll get better, or I'm willing to deal with it again. It's upset me at this point, but I'm willing for it to return. It is what it is. How about it is what it is? Let's get to work. If you don't like the experience or something that you don't want to experience again, fill it out. Fill out the experience. Be a part of it. Don't deny yourself the experience. Don't delude your way out of it, thinking that it's just going to end up disappearing. And then happy comes out of the clouds, the dark clouds and the rain and all of that. And then you get happy. All right. Final thought on the conversation of stuck on happy is a lot of times people use dark clouds as an analogy. Well, if a dark cloud is an analogy and you wish for sunny skies, the intentions you're offering will kill you. because if you got what you wanted all the time, you would never have the clouds to produce the rain, and your rain would not grow the foods, and the animals would not eat those foods as well as you, and you would not eat the animals. And you see, if you got your way all the time, you would ultimately not make a very long life. Or at least the life concept being happy, because it just won't allow that to happen. This universe based off of physics will not allow that behavior to occur. So if you're stuck on happy and that's the only way to value your life, you're delusional to yourself and also your abilities to develop yourself. Now, I hope that you found value in this video as much as I have talking at a screen, recreating conversations that I always have with people. By the way, feedback that I do have with people whenever I have these conversations is pretty simple. They always tell me, I didn't think of it that way. What do I do next? They ask opinions on developmental conversations. I have freed them from the chamber of happy and given them the opportunity to find development so that they can create the life they want rather than lottery winning, chancing their way in. No, because a lot of people hope to fall into the life they want rather than create it. If you want to create the life you want, stop getting stuck on happy, but add that into the desirable outcome. Not stuck on happy, just to be happy. But you have to work for it, the same as if you want to be wealthy. You're not going to happen your way into healthy. And if you did inherit it, a lot of the times people that inherited wealth aren't really very happy. So you can see it all the time. Like, look at the Hilton kids and, you know, the Kardashian kids and all the rest of these. They just have to have these outlandish acting out in order to qualify their life. And they're not really behaving like normal people or average people. Normal, more average than normal. Anyway, so that's for another episode. Again, this is Chad Everett Brochures, the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, and this is Stuck on Happy. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Again, if you find value in this, please share on your social media as well as share with friends, talk about it, create the buzz. Let's get people in action so there's not so much of those distortions out there that think the only way to value life is to be happy and pushing that belief onto others. Which robs them of the real experience if they get infected with the idea of stuck on happy. Share in the comment section any of the comments that you have to share, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, guys.